Welcome once again to the Theater Professor vidcast. My name is Terry Dana Jakimiak II, and I am the Theater Professor. You can see I'm looking a little rough this week. I haven't shaved. It's because I've been sick, and that's kind of why the Theater Professor website's been a little slow updating over the past couple of weeks. It's been a lot of little bit of sickness, little bit of illness, but the hope is within the next couple of days and the next couple of weeks, we start to grow a little bit because summer is here. I'm teaching a summer class, but those are only half days, and I'm excited. I've got a lot of things that I want to share with you guys. This week we'll be continuing our Procreate tutorial series. This will be Procreate Tutorial 6. I'm actually going to be talking about how to import pictures and use them as reference guides for those of you that like to do that. Also, as we move forward, I'm probably going to do a couple more Procreate videos before I start to branch off into some other art apps, sound apps, things like that, that I use as a theater designer. If you're enjoying this series, please make sure you share it with your friends, families, enemies, if you have enemies. Okay, maybe don't share it with your enemies. Share it just with your friends. Yes, just friends. And you can share us on Facebook. You can share us on Twitter. You can share us. I'm self-promoting, aren't I? I'm sorry. Going back to it, it's cloudy outside. I'm feeling good. So let's continue on with the tutorial. All right, so what you're looking at here is a lemon. And we know the saying that when life gives us lemon, why don't we make lemonade or something goofy like that? Though I do love lemonade. And for those of you that are lemonade aficionados, let me know what your favorite lemonade is. I'm curious. So this was one of my first projects ever in Procreate. It was my first chance playing with my color palettes, my first drawing. I was just trying to see what I could do with it. Now, I didn't have a lemon in front of me. In fact, I did most of this painting just over about a year ago on an airplane. And one of the things that you can do in Procreate is you're able to grab images and use them in a couple different ways. And that's what we're gonna learn about today, if you haven't already been doing this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna pop out of Procreate altogether. And I'm going to jump into my web browser, Safari over here. And I'm not going to be on Farg. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go to Google Images. And we're going to search for an image. Let's see. And we're going to do something simple. So I'm just going to pick Apple. Ooh, too many P's. Oy vey. There we go. And of course, we get Apple. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump into images. And there we go. We have a bunch of apples. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pick one. So let's see. Which apple here do I really think is really enjoyable and would I like to do art-wise? Let's, I want something with decent highlights and shadows. I think this one right here. I'm going to view the image, and then if you've never done this before, if you hold your finger on the image, that little pop-up will happen. And what you want to do is you want to save the image. And what it does is it saves it to your camera roll. So if I come over here and come into my photos, you'll see there it is in my camera roll. That's great. Let's jump back to Procreate. We're going to go back out to our gallery. And we're going to create a new image. And let's create it. We'll just do squared. 2048 by 2048. And now we have our blank canvas. You notice I always move it right at the beginning. It's a habit. I just like being able to go, wee. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add 2 more layers. I'm going to label the bottom layer, and I'll explain why here in a second, as trace. And I'm going to label the second layer as source. And I'm going to move the source layer actually. And if you don't know, to move a layer, you press and hold on the layer until it pops out like that. And then you bring it above another layer. So there we go. So source is on top. So now I have these layers, and layer 3 is going to be what I do my drawing on. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I've been doing some other artwork with spray paint stuff. So let me get over here to my sketching, and we'll just use the HP pencil. Okay, so we're ready to draw. So with an image, there are two things you can actually do, and I'm going to show you both ways of doing them. For those of you that are just beginning artists who are learning how to draw, it is wonderful to just look at items and draw them. It's probably your best practice. But every once in a while, for example, me, I want to focus on things like shading or coloring. I don't want to have to worry about the actual drawing. And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually, and this is also true in my design, sometimes there's an image of a chair or something, and it's not about how wonderful I can copy the chair freehand. It's about being able to show the chair to the director in an artistic form. And so I will oftentimes do tracings of items. So to do a tracing, we want to be in our trace layer. And the wrench icon up here, you want to click on Import. And we are going to insert from photos. And we're going to insert from our camera roll. And then we're going to resize it. Why? Whoa, don't want to do that. There we go. Look at that. That is an apple. Okay. This is also useful for anybody that does logo-y type stuff who just need to trace something and then create their own version of it. This is a great way to go about it. You notice that we have these sizing points all around it, and the arrow is lit up here in blue. So before you do any drawing, you need to click on that so that disappears. Your next step is you want to go ahead and you want to switch to your layer 3, which I never labeled. You could label it. And okay, so before I do that, I'm jumping ahead. What we're going to do before we jump to layer 3 is we're actually going to reduce the opacity of the trace. And to do that, you've clicked on trace, you're in that layer. If you click the magic wand up here, it has an opacity setting. So I've clicked the opacity setting, and then if you take your finger on the right-hand side of your iPad, hold it down and bring it to the left, it will bring down the opacity. Look at that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change over to my layer 3, and I'm going to start tracing. Ooh, my pencil is not dark enough. Oh, that's because I'm using pressure sensitive setting without my pressure sensitive stylus being on. There we go. And I'm just drawing rough here. I'm not, obviously if this is something that you are trying to do artistically, you may take a little more time than me. But I'm just doing a rough sketch right now because I'm an apple. This is so much harder to do when I'm not sitting on my couch. I like to draw sitting on my couch. I like couches. Anybody out there big couch fan? Let me know. Let me know what type of couch you have. I'm curious. My stylus is being a butt today. And there's the thunder. I don't know if you guys will be able to pick up the thunder, but it is thundering out here. That's it. My stylus is driving me batty. I'm going to adjust something. Essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset this so it's not pressure sensitive. Turn off my pressure sensitive stylus, because today it's not about the stylus. If I really wanted to, I could sit here and get my settings readjusted. I haven't been using this. There we go. There we go. So I suggest when you're doing your own artwork, I always suggest using a stylus that has pressure sensitivity, because it allows you to do a lot more. But when you're doing a tutorial, that's different, because what I'm showing you is how to use things that are not. And you see I'm just kind of freehanding this. And look at the inside of that leaf there. Okay, and a couple other things that I like to do if I'm tracing something. My highlight is here. See how you can see that highlight there? And maybe a little bit of my shadow is here. Notice though that there's bounce over here. I'm zooming in. See this bounce highlight here? Because that's bouncing off of the white. Same thing over here. There's a bounce highlight here. Got to kind of pay attention to those. Then maybe do a little bit of a shadow trace here. Very rough, very quick. Okay, so you can see there that I've got the apple underneath. And that's actually pretty decent for, what'd that take me, all of like 5 minutes? So we've got this created now, and then what I like to do is I've got this other one up here called the source, right? So what I'm going to do with the source is I'm going to actually import the same picture into the source, and then I'm actually going to leave it, I might grow it a little bit, roughly that size. I'm going to put it right here, because now what we can do, I'm going to erase a little bit this white here, that's annoying me, there we go. And then I'm going to grab my paintbrush, and we can choose colors directly from this apple, okay? So if I zoom in and I take my stylus and I press and I hold down in a specific area, a circle will come up, watch. See that? And as I drag around, it's picking up specifically what's underneath it with a little magnifying glass. So I'm going to start with this red here. I like that red. It is now part of my, or it's my color choice. I'm actually going to go ahead and add it to a palette. Let's do my last palette. So to add it to the palette, you press and hold on the box up top, and you drag it down to right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start, oh, that's right, I don't have my pressure sensitivity on. I'm just going to start. Now, we're using the paintbrush, so it's on glaze. Uh-oh, and look, I screwed up. I'm on the wrong layer. Undo, how I love thee. And I'm actually going to add a layer for paint. There we go. Start to lay in my red. And again, this is a glaze red, which means as I go over it numerous times, it'll start to darken up. See? And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of follow the curve of the apple. And this all now is really just paint technique. Okay? So this is me just kind of playing right now. I will never say I'm the world's best painter, trust me. What I am is I'm competent as a painter. Ooh, this is kind of stylized. I'm kind of having fun. Say I want to take this light color up here. Again, I press and hold. We'll get that there. I'm going to reduce my size a little bit. Again, I'm doing all this on one layer as if it was an actual painting. If you wanted more control, you could do each of these colors on a different layer. I'm going to come down here, grab that. Increase my brush size. And then, of course, you know me, if you've been watching any of my videos, it's time to blend. Why? Because I love blending. Now, some people might like these hard edges that are being created. That's fine. It's just not my style. I mean, well, not usually. My style is very blendy. I'm a big fan of blending things. It's like those videos. You guys watch those videos on YouTube where they blend iPhones and blenders? Poor iPhone. He never really had a chance, did he? Maybe blend some of this white out. Ooh. And, you know, again, this is a very quick. I'm running through this in an extremely fast pace. I would usually take a lot more time as I adjust my blends and adjust my size of my brush. One of the things you notice, I'm being able to do this very quickly. The way I hold my iPad, I have my sliders on the left-hand side so that I can use my thumb of my left hand to very quickly change settings between each stroke if I want to. If you are right-handed, you can actually switch the side that your sliders are on, and to do that, you go into the settings and you go into preferences, and you can see right hand interface. Ooh, everything switched. And I switch it back. Boom. There it is. So just something, a little tidbit of a tip. Let's look at our apple now. Oh, it's starting to come along. I'm going to blend my edges. What I'll probably end up doing is going back in and hardening those edges, you know, because an apple has a nice hard edge. But I just want to kind of get a sense of what we're looking at. Okay, we need the color from the stem. And generally what I do when there's like, see how there's darks and then there's lights, I try and pull something right in the middle. Because I can always adjust it later on. Let's grab the leafy green. Tasty. Everybody likes a leaf. Everybody likes a leaf. Okay, maybe you don't like the leaf because the leaf may not taste good. But if you like the leaf, then you can really enjoy the leaf. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Tip the waitress. And you notice a lot, I'm going out of lines. I'm a big fan of going out of the lines. I want this like olive-ish green here for the underside. The great thing about going out the lines on a digital thing is you can always erase. And that's what we'll do here real quick. Ooh, too big. Let's reduce the size. Yeah, look at that. We call this a leaf. Who's a big fan of the leaf? Leif Erikson. That's who. There we go. Now, there are some other things you can do to keep from going out the lines, and that'll be in another tutorial. But I have never minded erasing around the outside of lines, and depending on your art style, you might not need to, you know? Maybe you do something that's a little more abstract-y. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, listen, if you've been following my YouTube videos, what I would love to see happen is for some of you guys to actually post some of your artwork or link to your artwork at the end of this, either on the YouTube channel or on my website, because I would love to see what you guys are coming up with in regards to these tutorials. I want to see what you're creating. Oh, this is going to be a mucho bueno apple. I watched I'm not Spanish, and I'm very bad at Spanish. I actually took 4 years in high school and managed to get through them all just barely. But I watch Falling Skies, and there's a girl who speaks Spanish in it. I love listening to the language. So if you're a Spanish speaker, go ahead and record yourself. I'll listen. Okay, we're coming into... real quick, let's take a look at without the pencil drawing. So you can start to see, this is, again, without the pencil drawing, without the pencil drawing, it's actually starting to come along really nice. This was all spur of the moment, too. My daughter's asleep. I was like, oh, I should do a vidcast. So I didn't know I was going to be doing an apple. Now, there's a lot of work that needs to happen to this. But the big thing to take away from this is your ability... Oh, and that's the other thing. Okay, so I'm going to take this. I just moved this on top right now. You can see. But I've still left the opacity low so that I can see through it and kind of get a sense of how I'm doing with my shading. And actually, not too bad. My light is a little high, and you can really see it right in here, which I'm going to erase. Oh, I can't erase. That's right, because I did it all on one layer. But what I can do is if I turn that layer off, I can pull this color back onto my brush. And if you're wondering what that little white dot is right there, that's from this layer up here. Now it's gone. I know, it was driving me crazy too. Come back in here. Blend that again. Blend that there. And then turn that back on. And see, now we're much closer to where we need to be. So you start to get an apple there. Okay, again, what I've created right now, this is a very stylistically pretty apple. Depending on what I was going for, you know, maybe this is what you want. Maybe you're going for something that's a little less realistic and a little more stylistic. You know, there's a lot of painters out there that do this kind of stuff. For me, for what I do, what was I thinking there? For what I do, sometimes I go back and forth. Sometimes I do a fairly realistic. Sometimes I do a fairly stylistic. I love stylized art. I think there's some really good stylized art out there. I'm just not always good at it myself because sometimes I get a little too carried. See this red strip right up here? I want to add that back in. So I'm going to reduce this. There we go. Just kind of play with it. All right. Oh, and then, you know, push comes to shove. Let's give it some dimensionality, some more dimensionality. With a little bit of shadow underneath. Shadow underneath. And then blend those outside edges. Really give it a nice whoops. I like whoops. Whoops is fine. All right. So that literally took me probably under 15 minutes to do. And, you know, it's a stylized version. I'd take a lot more time to get in and do a realistic version. I'd take a lot more time if I was doing the art for art's sake. But again, the big thing here is to pay attention to the ability to use a source object, like what we have in the top left corner, as well as a tracing object, which was here. And by using those, you can create all sorts of things. For anybody that likes to do collages, this is a great way to pull several images together and create a collage of things to look at. It's a lot of fun. I've done it a couple of times where I've used different sources and then collaged them together. One of the things that you got to be careful here is, you know, if you're doing this for money, and you're copying something directly, that's not a good thing. Okay, but if you're doing this like for, I have many students who are just learning how to draw. This is a great way to learn as an addition to doing, you know, still lifes and things like that. I would never use this as the sole way to learn how to draw. But for example, I had several students this past semester who were not very good at drawing people, and so we sat there and we did some still life sketches of people. But then what I did is I also had them work on tracing things, because when you get your muscle memory, for those of you who don't know what muscle memory is, it's the ability to remember to do something over and over without thinking about it. I'm a gamer, and I do a lot of World of Warcraft, and I have a lot of muscle memory in regards to what different keys on my keyboard do. And so people do and can get muscle memory in how to draw things. I know that's, for me, that's how it worked out very, very early on, because I was not artistic at all. And so I would definitely encourage you to try this out. If you think you can't draw, first thing I'll tell you is you're wrong. But second thing I tell you is try this out and do a little tracing and have fun with the coloring and the highlights and the shadows. And this is great for learning highlights and shadows, really seeing where all the highlights and shadows come from. Right now, in case you're curious, as I'm droning on, I'm just kind of playing with blending things, because it's fun and I'm weird. So, my name, like always, is Terry Dana Jakimiak II. I am the theater professor. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on source objects and tracing objects. Whee! Oh, now I'm making it into like a monster. That looks so ridiculous. The top's turning out really nice, though. See, this is what happens when I sit here too long and I play. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new. If you're not new and you're getting this because you subscribe to the YouTube channel, I like you. You're awesome. Not that I don't like the other people. I like you because you subscribe to me. I mean, that's cool. It's cool. Thanks a lot. Make sure you check out thetheaterprofessor.com, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.